Let's talk about improving your fantasy team through the waiver wire heading into week number 10. I'm going to start off with ads for smaller formats, your 8 or 10 team league, and then we'll go to larger formats. So guys that should already be rostered in most formats, names like Tyrone Tracy, who's taken over the RB1 role in New York. Chase Brown's done the same thing in Cincinnati. Bucky Irving is a startable name each and every week. The entire Bucs offense is really funneling through the running backs. But Jonathan Brooks is coming back next week. If he is on your waiver wire, definitely pick him up. Since Carolina, their run game is pretty efficient right now. K-Dot and Tua is a great start. And then Cedric Tillman, a name that we have talked about multiple weeks now. I don't feel like we should re-talk about him. He should be rostered in every league. He's been a must-start almost every week for the past, 4 weeks now. He's been an absolute superstar. All right, the first pickup in order for me is Jauan Jennings. Look, if Jauan Jennings is out there somehow, you've got to pick him up. And the reason I'm even talking about him is because he was, number one, injured in week number 8. Then the Niners had their bye this week in week number 9. And he was dropped in a lot of formats. In fact, I did the research for you. If you look at ESPN Sleeper and Yahoo, he was dropped in every single format, from 61 to 58% ownership, from 70% in Sleeper to 60% in Sleeper, from 62 to 51% in Yahoo. So definitely go out there and see if Jauan Jennings is available, because he is a flexible name each and every week on a good offense. Jennings was actually a needed wide receiver for this team in the first 4 weeks of the season. Debo missed time and Ayuk was rusty from that holdout for his contract. And in the first 4 weeks, he had 3 out of his 4 games over 11 PPR points, including the blow-up game in week 3 versus the Los Angeles Rams, where he had 11 catches, 175 yards, and 3 touchdowns. This is a potential league winner if he's still out there. And also, Ricky Pearsall should be rostered. But as far as Jauan Jennings, I'm willing to spend over 30% of my fab to secure his services on my fantasy team. All right, just before we get into our second pickup, if you are looking for a running back, check out the time codes down below, because I have a specific section for running backs this week. Number 2 pickup is Xavier Legette. And of course, we got to mention Adam Thielen, who will be back off the IR here soon. But Xavier Legette, we weren't really sure how this offense would function with Bryce Young as a starter, but it's been better than anticipated so far. And Legette here in week number 9 was second amongst wide receivers in snaps. 44 out of 53 snaps he was on the field for. He was tied for first in routes run, 28 out of 30 routes run, and he was first in targets amongst wide receivers on the entire team, actually. He had a 25% target share, which is very, very promising when you think about what he could be in the future. Now, if you look at Legette's trajectory in the last couple of weeks, I mean, there are a lot of reasons to be excited about Xavier Legette. From weeks 1 to 3, he was a real non-factor. But from weeks 4 to 9, he's been more and more involved, and that's not uncommon for rookie wide receivers, for rookie players in general. Remember, this is a first-round pick, rookie wide receiver. He'll get more and more involved. He'll be better as the season progresses. In weeks 1 to 3, you can see he was averaging about 3.3 targets. That's up to about 5 in weeks 4 to 9, from 2 receptions to over 3, from 25 receiving yards to almost 28, and from fantasy points, 4.6 to over 10.5, becoming a legit flexible option. In fact, weeks 4, 6, 8, and 9, he scored over 11 PPR points, and he got into the end zone. I definitely think he's worth rostering. A touchdown in 4 out of his last 6 games. I think you would spend about 15% of your fab on him. All right, at number 3, a player we have talked about a lot on waiver wire videos this year, or stash videos, Pop Douglas. Pop Douglas is the clear leading wide receiver for the Patriots, attached to a quarterback who is going to continually improve each and every week in Drake May. This week, he had 9 targets, caught 7 of them for 35 yards. He has 9 targets in 4 out of his last 6 healthy games. And since week 3, if you take out that game in week 7 when he was not healthy, he left the game early, he's averaging 7 targets, almost 50 yards, and over 11 PPR points. I was able to pick him up in my home league before this week because someone dropped him. So even in competitive formats, he might be out there and available. I'd be willing to spend about 10 to 15% of my fab on him. All right, do you need a tight end? Because Taysom Hill is now a legit streaming tight end at this point, right? Let's think about the New Orleans Saints team for the moment. Rashid Shaheed is out for the year. Chris Olave has dealt with a serious concussion. That's his second this year. He might be out an extended period of time. Bub Means is on the IR. Kendre Miller's on the IR. Jamal Williams is dealing with an injury. Taysom has become a very important part of this offense almost overnight in the last couple of weeks. This game, just out, he had 5 targets and 5 carries. And here's what he did with those 10 touches. He had a rushing touchdown. They're going to use him on the goal line. They're going to use him in the red zone. They have told us they're going to do that, and they have stuck to their word. And he's also going to be used in the air more now that there are less and less weapons out there. He had 4 receptions for 41 yards, had a really good day for the tight end position. Again, 5 to 10% of my fab is what I'm willing to spend on him. At number 5, let's talk about Quentin Johnston. Look, I'm not sure how much I really believe in QJ, but he's definitely worth mentioning. Just last game out, he was second in snaps, routes run, and targets amongst wide receivers. Ladd McConkey led the way in all of those categories. And to be honest, Josh Palmer wasn't far behind him in every single one of those categories. Again, snaps, routes, runs, targets. I mean, he and Josh Palmer really split opportunities. So that is really concerning because I'm not sure QJ ever becomes a consistent start for you, but of course he is a first round wide receiver, talented guy. And we have also seen these spike weeks before. Remember, in week 2, he had 22 fantasy points, 6 targets, 5 catches. In week 9, he has 5 targets, 4 catches, 22 fantasy points. I mean, I feel like we have seen this before. I want to see more consistency, but I'm willing to add him as like a speculative add, right? At number 6, you need a quarterback because Bo Nix and Justin Herbert are some of the best pickups off the waiver wire right now. Herbert is the quarterback 8 since week 6. This team is starting to throw the ball much more in Los Angeles. It's great to see that they're letting Herbert kind of dish the ball all over the field. And as far as Bo Nix goes, we haven't stopped talking about him on this channel. So I know you probably don't want me to keep talking about Bo Nix, but he is a legit starting option for anyone out there who needs a quarterback. All right, number 7, before we get into running backs, Ja'Tavion Sanders. I think this is the 4th week in a row that I have talked about Ja'Tavion either in a waiver wire or a stash video. And each and every week, I have to keep talking about him because he's not rostered anywhere. He's available everywhere, and he keeps getting more and more and more opportunities. This week, he had 5 targets, which was second amongst the team. And that's like a 23% target share as well. He's actually had 5 or more targets in 4 out of his last 5 games. Really, week 8 is the only bad week he's had since week 5. I mean, again, rookie tight end, getting better, has a connection with both Andy Dalton and Bryce Young, had his highest ever receiving yardage total at 87 this week with Bryce Young as a quarterback. I definitely think he's worth adding, especially if you don't have a solidified tight end. All right, this takes us to the portion of the video where we will talk about the running back position. I'll be 100% transparent with you. I don't know if anyone out there this week is going to lie to you and say that there's a bunch of great running back ads out on the waiver wire and you can really improve your team and there's clear great ads. The honest reality here is there's not. There are names that can definitely help, but a lot of them are handcuffed. A lot of them aren't going to dominate touches, or there's a guy ahead of them and they're going to be inconsistent. So here's a huge list of guys that I think you could add. Jaylen Warren is really the only name that I think you can consistently start week in and week out because he has a consistent role. Tyler Algier is going to be boom bust. Trey Benson's going to need a injury to James Conner. Ray Davis was outsnapped by Tyler Johnson and James Cook. I mean, he was 3rd amongst running backs in snaps, right? I mean, Isaac Horrendo, if CMC is back, what's the point? If Jordan Mason is healthy, what's the point? Tajay Spears is always going to be the RB2 to Tony Pollard. So these are names that you can add. There's definitely upside there. That's my top, 5 or 6. But I can't lie to you and say there's league winning running backs out there on the waiver wire right now. All right, let's talk about defensive streamers. If you want to stream the defensive position this week, the Chargers versus the Titans, great matchup. The Titans are a top 2 matchup for your defense. Falcons at the Saints. Saints are a top 3 matchup for your defense. And then Bears versus Patriots. Patriots are a top 10 matchup against defenses. And I'll finish off the video with the other guys, if you will. These are honorable mentions, deeper formats. You can add them. Names like Noah Brown, who actually led Washington in targets this week. Ray McLeod, if there's going to be no Drake London next week, he's a fine, spot start. Demarcus Robinson, if Puka gets suspended, I don't think that will happen, by the way. Nick Westbrook-Akini is actually really, really interesting. He's had a touchdown in 4 straight weeks, and without DeAndre Hopkins, he has a solidified role. Mason Tipton, if Olave misses time over there in New Orleans. Mike Gesicki is a spot start until T. Higgins comes back. And Theo Johnson, a young rookie tight end who just got into the end zone for the first time this week. I appreciate y'all for watching the video. Do me a favor, hit that like button to show some love. Subscribe if you like the content. Not the most exciting week for waivers, but I want to be more transparent than clickbait, right? I want to be honest with you. If it's an exciting week, I'll tell you I'm excited about it. But this week is honestly quite mild. But the last thing I'll say is if you want a free account with Flock Fantasy, go ahead and use a promo code LAND, flockfantasy.com/LAND, And when you sign up with the code LAND for free, you'll get the team analyzer for free, expert consensus rankings for free, and the trade calculator for free. Outside of that, check out the pinned comment if you want to ask me a fantasy question, and enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you soon. Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, LAND, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.